Hello all, good morning. Hope you are all doing well. So today we are going to look at a very short session on getting introduced to chaos testing. I hope in all your projects, or at least any one of your projects, you should have faced an production outage. Uh, this session will probably help you in getting ways how can identify and how can narrow down such a production outages. Let's look into a quick agenda. We are going to understand a very high level thing on what is a monolith and what is a microservices architecture. Then I will speak a bit on fault tolerance and disaster recovery. We'll see what is chaos engineering and how it got evolved. Then we also see chaos engineering principles. Then obviously the main objective of this session, chaos testing. We will see how we can identify chaos test scenarios for our sample application. In the way, like after we exercise it, we'll see how chaos testing will help in our system fault tolerance. Then we'll look into a few of the chaos and fault injection tools available in our market. So most of you should know the basic difference between the monolithic and the microservices architecture. If we see a monolithic architecture, it is usually a single tiered software application where all of the software components will usually be in a single program and will belong to a single platform. Whereas in microservices, we segregate the business logic into like individual entities, individual and complete entities, which can communicate with each other without any dependencies. Okay, fault tolerance and disaster recovery. If we see in the recent past, most of our applications have been deployed into cloud and all are in a kind of a distributed systems. So having such enhancements also brings few complexities like fault tolerance. To tell fault tolerance in one-liner, it is nothing but whenever your application is down or your application encounters a failure, is your application prepared for a backup or will your application run continuously without any outages? So that is the aspect fault tolerance brings it. Disaster recovery is the mechanism where your architecture is designed in such a way that in case of any software or infra failures, even your code failures, then whether your software is or your application is able to overcome and continue running. Now let's see what is chaos engineering and its evolution. Having said that, failures can arise in the distributed systems and in the enhancements made in recent trends. So it is good as a practice for us to introduce failures and in the production environment and get it tested, how the system is behaving. So chaos engineering is the discipline of experimenting your software system in production and see if your system is functioning in turbulent and unexpected conditions. This was ideated by Netflix in 2011. So how this came into picture is when their developers were moving their application into cloud. So they thought, why can't we introduce some system which will evaluate their system resilience? We will look into a few of the most critical chaos engineering principles. The first is building a hypothesis around a steady state behavior. As a QA, we as a QA dev, we know like what is the behavior of our application. So based on that, we need to build a few hypotheses saying that if such a failure occurs, what is the expected behavior? Whether the entire component or the entire functionality should go down, or selected functionalities can work continuously without any in case of any failures. The second principle chaos engineering recommends is very real world events. As a QA, most probably we'll be focusing on functional testing, performance, automation, etc. But it's very important for us to introduce deliberate failures in our architecture on our system and varying the real world events and verify the behavior. Then the third main thing is they are recommending to run experiments in production. Most of our systems, right? So we will have dev, then staging or UI environments. which would not have that much kind of leisure as a production environment. So we might miss such capturing such failures in lower environments. So like chaos engineering recommends to run our experiments in production. The next principle is automating experiment to run continuously. Obviously, we all know the advantage and benefits of automation of a functional test. Having said that, even if we automate our chaos test, it will help us to reduce our cost involved in testing such failures. Finally, it's minimizing the blast radius. Having said the third point, that running experiments in production, right? As we all are aware at how can we run a experiment production? Doesn't it cause an outage to our customers? Yes, it will cause an outage to our customers. So this is the purpose. We need to minimize the blast. So when we call it a blast, it's nothing but imagine your software architecture. You need to identify such components and identify like individual components such that the transaction happening within the system is very less the time, or the number of production users using the system are very less. So the experiments doesn't cause an outage to them. So it is recommended to run chaos tests at the time where we see minimal transactions in the application. Then we also need to, as a part of minimizing the blast radius, we also need to try inject failures, which will have impact for a subset of or very small group of our customers or devices. So hope you got some understanding from the chaos engineering principles. Having said that, we'll move to the next slide. Now we'll come to the actual context of chaos testing. Having seen what is a chaos engineering, chaos testing is the responsibility such that we introduce deliberate failures in our systems and processes and observe if the system or process can deal with such failures. The benefits of chaos testing can be so a few issues which is non-functional, which is overseen by us, can be caught during our chaos testing. Then we don't know if a single component goes down in the actual production. We don't know whether it affects only the particular functionality or it can cause a cascading failures. Chaos testing will help definitely. By having said few of the benefits, obviously we can understand that chaos testing will help in designing a very efficient fault-tolerant systems. Now this is a simple PubSub application. Before getting started, I would like to give a very small knowledge on PubSub. So we all are currently using applications like Netflix, Amazon, Disney Hotstar, etc. So those are all very typical examples of publishers and PubSub application. What happens is, let's take an example of Netflix. Netflix is a publisher and a content provider which will publish videos. And we subscribe, based on our subscriptions, we can listen or we can watch a few videos or music provided by the publisher. This is such a very simple typical application. If you see this flow, it is such that there is no secondary mechanism. It is working on a very primary mechanism. So if you see this application, we have each components of the application hosted in different microservices. So if we see microservice 1, so we see microservices 1, it is hosted in the GCP cloud. Then we'll see microservices 2 has hosted messaging broker. A messaging broker is nothing like, it's a queue or a topic mechanism like RabbitMQ or Kafka. So which will collect the publisher information and it will pass it on to the corresponding subscribers. Then we have the database which will store the stateful information of the system, and it is hosted in GCP and it is considered as microservice 3. So publishers and subscribers, they interact to our application using API gateway and REST API. So if you observe this system, right, it is a kind of a distributed system hosted in 3 microservices. And if we can predict failures, there are a lot of failures which can be predicted. Few of those are mentioned here. I will just read through critical failures can happen in each microservices. So microservices 1, if you see if API gateway is not reachable, obviously it's a possible scenario. If GCP is down or the cluster of the GCP is down, definitely the publishers and subscribers will be impacted. And microservices 2 is the messaging broker, which is the heart of the system. So if it is not reachable, then there is no use messaging publishers or subscribers like listening to the API gateway. Then microservices 3 stores the stateful information of the publishers and subscribers. If consider if there is an outage in the database itself, it may be costly for the project if the failure is not handled. Now let's do a sample chaos test on this application. We will take a simple application flow. So I will walk through this application flow a bit. So the publisher is now publishing information or so-called message using a post request to our application, and the message is being delivered to the subscriber. Now let's take a hypothesis or say let's introduce a deliberate failure saying database is down. Now we can derive a couple of important hypotheses from this. One is publishing messages should not cause any impact to the message delivery to the subscriber or the message getting published by the publisher. This is because the database is only handling the information of the publishers and the subscribers, and no way a post request by the publisher will fail on a database failure. So this is my hypothesis 1. Hypothesis 2, during a database down scenario is that when a publisher or subscriber is going to create a new publisher or subscriber subscription, then obviously it should fail returning 5xx error code. So these two are my hypotheses. Now let's see how we can verify this hypothesis. So if people who worked in cloud systems like GCP or AWS or Azure, they very well know that we can host a cloud SQL as a service, and we can, as a testers, we can request developers that we are going to test this scenario. Hence, we can stop the DB service, and we can verify this hypothesis 1 as well as hypothesis 2. So if we can observe, like it is not since it's a hypothesis, it's not the expected behavior, and the behavior may be a different one. It is important for us to test this scenario and see if the fault tolerance or the disaster recovery mechanism works as expected. Now we'll see how chaos testing can enhance fault tolerance. So if we document the observations of chaos testing, it will come handy to the entire stakeholders, the developers, the client, the QAs, the product owner, etc., to identify where the system can cause a deliberate failure, and if they have handled such failures in their system. Obviously, based on the chaos testing feedback, developers we can request a dev team to refactor their code or infra configurations accordingly. If at all, if you know, in most of the distributed systems, the logging and the pager duty should be intact. So in case of business critical applications like banking transactions, the client or the dev team, so they usually receive a pager duty alerts in case of system failures. There are chances that few of the alerts or logging might be overlooked by the dev team during implementation, and chaos testing will identify those, and we can request developers to add any missing duty alerts and application logs. So having said that, we feel we very well know like this will going to help very well help the dev team to enhance a good fault tolerance strategy. So this I have said in the previous slide, so this will help in verifying the disaster recovery mechanism as well. So these are not the only limitations we will be having as part of chaos testing findings. There are a wide range of benefits which we can search in various blocks. So these are few notable chaos and fault injection tools. Chaos Monkey is a tool built by Netflix. You can try it out. So how Chaos Monkey works is, so it will introduce deliberate failures in set of virtual machines or a single virtual machine, and so we can test the system in production to see if the fault tolerance mechanism is working as expected. Few other tools are Chaos Toolkit, Pumbaa, KubeMonkey. KubeMonkey is a Kubernetes-based tool. So if your application is in Kubernetes infra, you can try it out. So others are powerful, seal and steady. These are not only the limited tools. There are other tools available. We can like Google it out and like see each and every tool behaves. So while designing this content, we got inspired and we took a few of the contents from these portals. Please feel free to have this look at it. And the last link mentioned is Martin Fowler. He is above one data scientist. You can very well like visit his blog, and there are in addition to chaos testing, there are a lot of other blogs where you can get good idea and best suggestions. So if you have any questions, please post it in the chat thread. So I will try to answer it as much as possible.
Yeah, folks, like we'll wait for another minute to see if there are any questions coming up. So if not, then we'll move to the next session. We'll wait for another minute or so. Yeah. Yeah, I know this is like a new topic for you guys, and it would be an intro session. But still, if you have any doubts, please post it. We'd be happy to answer it. Okay. So, Abhinandan, do you want to move on? Do you have anything else? I don't see any questions. Okay, then one
okay.
thing.
So Bala is asking a question. Should be done in prod only? Yes, Bala. The chaos engineering recommends test to be run in production. The main thing we need to be careful is we need to evaluate the blast radius before doing this test. So as I have mentioned, what is a blast radius? We need to be very much careful in observing where all the test can cause a failure, and also we should choose a time slot such that there are minimal transactions in the system, and if such an outage occurs, it is causing an outage only to a limited users and the system. Okay. So this is a typical example where I can show you an example of blast radius. Let's consider a database is down. So when I was explaining about this architecture, so database is storing the stateful information of the publishers and subscribers. So here, when we cause a failure to the database, we should be very certain that only the creation and creation of publishers or subscribers should only be impacted, and not the publishing of the messages. So here I'm when I'm doing a database testing with causing a failure, then I'm minimizing the blast radius here. So there is no like very hard fast tool to compute the blast radius. It is all with our experiences and the collaboration with our dev team.
Blast radius is not a number. It's like how many services got affected by killing one service. You can consider that as blast radius.
Yeah, it is the number of systems which will get impacted.
Yeah. So
hope I addressed your clarification, Bala.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay. Please continue to post questions. I will try to address it in the upcoming when the next section is in progress. I would like to thank you all for participating in our OneQA during this pandemic. Please continue to watch us. Thank you.